Alberta is in rough shape, as the sting of a cyclical resource-based economy can be a painful one. Oil is trading at a value far lower than we need it to, and the resulting job loss has been rampant. Over the past year, employment insurance recipients have doubled, hitting over 61,000 beneficiaries in our province. The Alberta unemployment rate is expected to surpass the national average, and in Calgary, we're enduring our highest unemployment rate in recent memory at 7%. While the bulk of job loss has occurred in the energy sector, the trickle-down effect is notable. As a city, our GDP was expected to have shrunk 0.5% in 2015. Regardless of the writing on the wall, joining the ranks of the unemployed can be a traumatic experience. Today, we examine some coping strategies for those recently unemployed and how people can get back to work, what businesses are doing to limit their employee loss, and what could be on the horizon for business and employment opportunities in Calgary and Alberta. Hey Calgary, I'm Kevin Chorney. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm joined tonight by Janet Sutherland from the Calgary Economic Development. Janet, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
And Richard Bucher
Right.
from Right Management. Guys, again, thanks for being here. If you would, Richard, tell me a bit about your role and everything Right Management. What are you guys about over there?
Well, I lead the career management practice with Right Management in Alberta. Right is a global career and talent management company, part of a company called Manpower.
Big company, Manpower. Yeah.
Yes, global, 65,000 strong all over the world. And we specialize in career and talent management.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks again for taking the time.
Mm-hmm.
Jeanette, same question. What's going on with you at the CED?
It's a busy time. So I'm the manager of workforce and productivity. So Calgary Economic Development works with business, government, and community in identifying business opportunities, business investment opportunities, trade opportunities, and helps to foster growth for our workforce. So it's a really busy time for us right now, as you can imagine.
I can't imagine. Mm-hmm. So you've got obviously a pretty good perspective on things. Is this as bad as it's been unemployment-wise in Calgary?
You know, last year we've lost 9,000 jobs in Calgary. That's about as bad as it has been since 1983. Yeah. But there's a little bit of a difference right now. So we've lost 9,000 last year, but our unemployment rate's at 7%, which is just below the national average of 7.1%. Right. Back in 1983, the unemployment rate was at 13.3%, so a lot different. Interest rates were higher, and it was a different environment back then. Our reliance on the energy sector alone at that time was 55% for GDP growth. Now it's 32%. So that work at purposeful diversification has come to our favor, but we know that we've got a bit of a bumpy ride ahead of us.
Clearly, there's some progress there. Less, 25%.
Right.
That's I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
Clearly, people are being laid off. There's no question about that. But what are businesses, strategies, I guess, are local businesses employing to retain employees?
So a lot of businesses, what they're doing is they're doing work share. So they're working with other companies as well. I think a lot of businesses are also reducing the number of hours. So they've modified part of their work model right now. Yeah. Some are offering more flexible work options. So some people will work at home, so that takes up less real estate in the office. I think a lot of companies really right now are focusing on innovation and productivity to help drive their growth moving forward. So they're resetting themselves a bit in the marketplace, and they're looking for opportunities. So they're looking to take advantage of the low dollar right now for increased trade opportunities. So they're getting very lean, but we are still hearing a fair amount of employment growth happening in certain sectors. So, I think the big thing right now is where to find those opportunities and which growth sectors are growing, right?
Primarily job losses have hit the energy sector, no secret there. Is there a trickle-down effect? I think tertiary industries, so it's evident, it is happening. Which of these tertiary industries is taking the biggest hit, do you think?
Well, you're looking at manufacturing, you're looking at some business services, some financial services that support the energy industry, but most of those sectors, that's not their sole source of growth. So they have other opportunities to do business in the marketplace, but they have been impacted significantly. So a lot of them are diversifying their growth model right now as well. Where can they take advantage of other opportunities?
I would think restaurants are hurting pretty bad right about now.
They are. Everybody still has to eat, but again, even the restaurants are taking a look at their model. They're redoing their menus, cheaper menu items. Bar industries, they're understandably, sometimes in the economic downturn,
Maybe
they
a
still
little-
tend to do well.
Yeah, yeah,
but
of course.
but the restaurant industries have been impacted, but a lot are looking at how they can just adjust their model right now.
Yeah. So Richard, I know you've been through a lot throughout your professional career. You've held a position for some time, found yourself laid off. Is that a traumatic experience? Is it fair to say that it's a trauma in life for that to happen?
The emotions that you encounter in a job loss are equivalent to suffering a death in the family or a divorce.
Wow.
And when you read I did my grad thesis on the characteristics of successful transition. The emotions are identical. The degree that you may experience them may vary, depending on your prior experience with transition and whether that's happened and how much forewarning you had that this was coming. But fundamentally, this is one of the big three. It is decidedly a profoundly emotional experience, and often the first critical issue that individuals face is how do they cope with what feels like a roundhouse kick to the midriff.
Yeah. So what's the first move? You know, let's say you've been laid off, you take your first steps out of that building, you take a deep breath, and what do you do? What's the best advice?
Well, take all the advice that's available to you. Often when this is happening, people have some kind of support available to them, but even if they don't, I think the best decision to make is no decision at all. In the first 2-3 days to a week, maybe 2 weeks, allow yourself time to adjust to what's just happened.
Yeah.
You know, on an emotional level, you came home at the end of the day, you found your clothes on the front lawn. This is not a time to be making big decisions.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to decide where do I want to walk, what do I want to watch, and what do I want to eat. And other than that, I'm not doing anything. Avoid the inclination to reach out to everybody in your network and say, I just got laid off, if you hear of anything, let me know. Because counterintuitively, your current state of employment is not the single greatest characteristics that you happen to have. It's not the most important thing people need to know about you. We absolutely want to reach out to the network. We're going to spend a ton of time doing that through the campaign.
Yeah.
But in the initial days, until you've got the butterflies flying in emotion, in some formation, you're feeling more settled about it.
Right.
It's best to allow yourself time to adjust.
Absorb, take it in, take it easy.
Completely.
Makes sense. We're going to check in quickly with the Rant Pack folks. Stay with us.
When it comes to unemployment, I think this is a big issue for everyone, any time of the year, anywhere in the world. I mean, I don't think that Calgary is any more specific or less specific than anywhere else when it comes to the difficulties that people have trying to find employment. I myself, I'm a recent graduate from the University of Calgary. I'm a master electrician. I've got training in all sorts of different fields and areas, and I'm working a part-time job between 8 and 15 hours a week. It is tough. It's a struggle to try and gain, meaningful employment. Yeah, I should bite the bullet and just take that job at McDonald's or whatever, but then I get criticized, oh, well, you just work at McDonald's. I need to swallow my pride, something like that. I think that if there wasn't so much shame attached to people who are unemployed or finding difficulty to find jobs, that I think the conversation would be different, and there'd be a lot more support and helpfulness among people when it comes to helping them find jobs and helping them secure jobs.
Maybe I'll get you to comment, Richard, on Jay's what Jay had to say, his point of view. Now, I guess what he's alluding to is that people do put a lot of value into what they do. It's not necessarily who they are. Is there a certain stigma, a shame in being unemployed that people have a tough time shaking?
Well, I think in our culture, in Western culture, we have become what we do.
Yeah.
I don't agree that that's true. We were talking before we went on air and what else you do other than what you do here.
Right.
So what we do is an expression of who we are, but it's not who we are. I mean, I'm an executive coach. I work with people in transition, but perhaps most importantly, I'm a husband, I'm a father.
Yeah.
There's lots of other roles that are important. I understand his comment and I take it to heart. I've been 4 times through layoff, restructuring, downsizing, whatever
Wow.
favorite euphemism you take.
Yeah.
So I have a personal affinity for what he was saying. I don't know what he's feeling and he doesn't know what I'm feeling, but we have a shared experience, so we have some common ground. Yes, it's true, those that have been impacted by layoff often feel some measure of embarrassment because they were picked. And the question is, why me? How good can I really be if my company decided to let me go?
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is when you go to the employer and you ask them how significant is it, how much of a factor is it to you when you're looking at a candidate who's unemployed? The survey I did of 220 employers, so decision makers, hiring managers, business unit managers, HR, recruiters, 92% of them said it wasn't a factor. That your current state of employment was no more relevant than the color of your shirt. You live in Calgary, the size of venue you'd need to hold everyone that has never been laid off or doesn't know anyone who has is a phone booth. And when was the last time you saw one of those?
Yeah.
So this is pretty common. I'm not saying it feels good, but to think that everybody's looking at you like you're a lesser employee, that you're tarnished goods, simply doesn't bear out when you go and talk to the decision makers.
Yeah.
I know I can feel that way, but that doesn't always bear out.
I know Calgary Economic Development, pardon me, you've got some workshops in place. I would assume that essentially what Richard is talking about is on the radar. How do you get people in, learning, moving their feet, kind of accepting the position that they're in?
You know, I think the most important thing right now is to stay engaged.
Yeah.
So, you know, stay calm, stay connected, stay engaged. And so why we're running these is this talented workforce that we have is really important to Calgary. It's important to our future economic growth.
Yeah.
So we don't want to lose any of these professionals and skilled trades workers that have recently been laid off. So the goal for us is to re-engage the workforce through a number of workshops or events. So the first event is February 3rd at the Calgary Public Library, and it's almost sold out, and it's free, but
Cool.
it's almost full.
Yeah.
And the intent there is on informing the public about really where's the labor market at? Where are some of the shifts and trends that have happened in the workforce? It's a little bit of a different game right now than it has been in the past few years. So, you know, we may need to reset some expectations. So that will be the first one. And then we're going to follow it up with a session on a workshop on financial health, how to get your financial house in order during an economic downturn. We're going to follow that with how to repurpose your skill set, and Richard's going to be leading that
Perfect.
one. Followed by mental health. It's really important to take care of your mental health. Stay physically happy, stay emotionally happy, but really ground yourself right now. And realize other people are going through this as well, and you will work through it. It just seems like it's such a big mountain to climb right now.
That's an excellent initiative.
Yeah, and then we're going to be we've got networking for the timid, and we've got a session as well on entrepreneurship and training and upskilling, as well as volunteerism. So whatever we can do right now to reconnect people with others in our community, I think is going to help out. And this is really a partnership supported by business and community that have said, we want to help out wherever possible. We want to help out with our workforce. We value our workforce. So how can we be a part of it? So we've had everybody from Right Management to the YMCA to Calgary Public Library to ATB, and we've had University of Calgary, SAIT, Bow Valley College. So everyone's coming together to offer their support. Calgary Counseling Services, Calgary Canadian Mental Health, financial counseling. So we're really thankful that there is that business support of this, and you know, in helping everybody through. We've had a lot of employers also say that we have some jobs, so we might be there as well. So if we can provide any opportunity to match people to jobs, that's just a win-win.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I really had no idea that Calgary had such a tight-knit business community. It sounds like people are really looking out for one another
Absolutely.
in a pretty big way.
But that's all about Calgary. Calgary's about community, and you know, I think people get very emotional when they think that their city is hurting right now.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've had people call in to say, "How can I help?" So that's something to be very proud of.
Definitely.
And so you know, with concern and care about you know, my pain is my neighbor's pain. I think it's really important that we all have that shared prosperity. And you know, as part of the 10-year economic strategy, this is a goal that we're going to be working out over the next 10 years as to how can we help create more shared prosperity? How can we focus on purposeful diversification in helping create more opportunities?
We're all in it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of the career equivalent of the 2013 flood.
Yeah,
And,
saw a lot of Calgary spirits.
So
there,
what
no
Jeanette
question.
has just
Yeah.
profiled
Yeah.
is how the community is responding. I mean, literally, I'm getting emails and LinkedIn messages from clients that I've worked with in the past who successfully landed, who've said, how can I help? What can I do to support the people you're working with now? I can only imagine how tough it is for them. And volunteer to come in and talk to them. Here's what I learned. Here's what worked for me. Here I'll profile my company. I mean, it really is very inspiring.
That's
I'm,
great.
this
That's
is
great
a
to
very
hear.
cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great to hear. Folks, we're going to check in with the Rand Pack again. Stay with us.